You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Thanks so much for joining me here today for our first Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. Looking forward to being able to answer all of your questions, our community's questions, from people all around the world, just like you, just like me, who have wellness, weight loss, anti-aging, health coaching, career, whatever it might be, questions. And I'm going to share my experience from a clinical practice, from seeing many hundreds of thousands of people, and just really looking at all of the different aspects of health, conventional medicine included. So we'll look at that. We'll look at natural health-based modalities. And what we want people to understand is that there's more than one way to go about healing the body. So if you have questions on, listen, I'm doing this, but I'm wondering if this may be helpful as well, or is this harming me? We could talk through that. And that's what these house calls are all about. So it's my opportunity to give you a second opinion, an alternative opinion to what you might be doing, or a place to get started. A lot of people want to know, hey, which labs, should I be running? And in 2020, we are actually going to offer a service that enables you to get on the phone with one of our amazing, and I personally trained all of these health coaches, to answer your questions on which lab might be best for you. So these are all things you've requested. And what we're trying to do is we can't always make them happen tomorrow. And I know that you would like us to, and so would I, to be honest, but they take a little time. So we need to put in the software systems to be able to schedule and make that happen. I need to train our health coaching team specifically on the questions they should be asking you and the recommendations they should be making. And we just want to make it seamless, and we want to make it easy for you. And of course, we want to make it very effective. So just know this is the first time I've announced it, but just know that that's coming as well in early 2020. So looking forward to that. And again, just let us know how we can help. That was a service that you were interested in. And so as much as we can do, we're going to do. We're only human. We're not going to be perfect 100% of the time. I wish that we could be. We're not, right? And I mean, again, on the Cabral Concept too, we've done how many shows? It's been, let's see, today is episode 1380, 1380. So that means if each of the shows is about a half hour long, well, I've done about 700 hours, of talking on the Cabral Concept. So, I might stumble over my words. I might, say things incorrectly, whatever it might be, meaning like I don't pronounce the word perfectly. What we're saying is that no one is perfect, right? We're not trying to be perfect. What we want to do, though, is be the best that we can and provide you with the very best functional medicine and integrative health practice in the world. That's our goal. We want to become the global leader, and we do ship to more countries than anyone else for a functional medicine-based practice, and we're very proud of that because these products, they work, and they work in a clinical setting. That means in a practice, not just on Amazon or whatever it might be. They work in a real practice, and we want to get you those. And so we're always trying to better our best, and we're always trying to one-up ourselves, right? Because we love what we do. We're passionate about what we do. So again, I never know what I'm going to talk about at the beginning of the show, so that was my little rant for the day. And now let's move on to your questions. Okay, the first question today is from Dar. Dar is asking, used to have a ton of serious allergies as a kid. Outgrew them all except being allergic to salmon and tilapia. Also, if I have too much dairy or wheat and gluten, I also get congested. I try to eliminate them these days. Do you know why you would be allergic to one type of fish but not another? I can have all the spicy tuna rolls I want, and I feel good. It always seems odd to me that if I ever have salmon, my eyes start to swell a little. My throat is itchy. It possibly swells a little as well. Thanks for your advice. Appreciate all of it. Stay blessed. Thank you, Dar. You as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. I love the little details. I love the subtleties of doing like a little mini consultation with these house calls. So you mentioned salmon and tilapia. Very interesting. Two of the highest, if not the two highest, farm-raised fish in the world. What does that mean? Well, farm-raised fish are different than fish, obviously, swimming out there in the wild, in the ocean, okay, or lakes, wherever you're getting your fish from, mainly the ocean, but there are freshwater fish that people eat. So when we look at salmon and tilapia, those two are often grown, believe it or not, in little swimming pools, swimming, and I know I want to be gross here, but they're swimming in their own feces. They're swimming in their own waste. And they're being fed a very unnatural food source for them. And I've mentioned this before, anything from chicken feed to soy to even Skittles. I mean, it's completely insane. So when we look at that, wild salmon may react very differently with UDAR, and that would be an interesting one. And again, I don't want people ever to eat anything that they're allergic to. Now, most people have food sensitivities, but if your throat starts to swell, well, that could be more of an allergy then. So that's a different story. The difference between allergies and sensitivities is more in the grade of what happens. Like anaphylaxis would be a true allergy. But we have allergies and then we have sensitivities, and most people have more of a sensitivity. And the sensitivity means that there is a good possibility, too, that it can be outgrown. Dar, I would love to see if this is an issue, not with the fish itself, but what the fish is being fed and its actual source of where it lives and came from. So it's an interesting one to look at. It certainly is possible to outgrow these. Dairy and gluten, just keep in mind, though, two things that humans probably weren't meant to eat that much of, right? So I run thousands and thousands of food sensitivity tests, and those are from an IgG perspective. So those are a delayed perspective. They can cause the congestion. So I just simply recommend limiting those. Now, there are some ancient grains that have much less gluten. Farro would be one, spelt as a little less gluten, because wheat has been hybridized over the years to be a little bit more glutinous, for lack of a better word, a little bit more sticky, a little bit nicer to be able to make breads and things like that with, and also to process down. So, Dar, that's my recommendation to you. And then, of course, run a Candida metabolism vitamins-based test, the former organic acids test, and run a stool test to see if you have any gut-based issues. Because if you do, good, we'll help you heal those, and then you'll have less inflammation, and you'll be on your way to better digestion. All right, D is up next. What has been your longest dry and or wet fast? I personally have tried a 2-day juice and water fast and felt great after. However, I tried a 36-hour dry fast once, and 3 days later suffered from Bell's palsy. Luckily, was able to recover 100% pretty quickly, thankfully. Some people have permanent issues. After that experience, I tell everyone I can to never dry fast. I got caught up in the hype after the juice and water fast, something that is easy to do in this day and age, after watching a YouTube video or reading a blog about how great something is for someone else. D, I appreciate you writing this in because this is very important, right? Very important. We can never take one other person's experience and apply it to our own. Now, we need to use systems and success stories as a starting place. Like, hey, this worked for this person. And then, but you just don't do it. Then you ask, why did this work for this person? And was it the causal factor? Because, like, oh, this person went on this exercise program and they lost 30 pounds. I'm going to do that exercise program. Well, what you might not know is that person also started to go to bed earlier. They also cut all processed flour out of their diet. They also switched all of their beverages to water. Like there's so many different causal factors. Now, before I go on another rant, let's answer your question. I know I've mentioned it before, but I don't like to tell people the longest fast that I've done because they might go and try that and they might need medical supervision, right? So it's like, might not be the right thing for them. But I always want to answer people's questions. So I'll answer it. But here's the thing. A dry fast, for people that don't know, most dry fasts, there are different ways to look at this, but most dry fasts, you have nothing. No water, nothing at all, right? Some people do it a little bit differently, but that's a true dry fast. You just have nothing. Now, what happens though? Why could someone get Bell's palsy or something like that? Think about this. Your body goes into a massive state then of cleanup and detoxification. What if your liver is not working 100%? What if your kidneys aren't working 100%? And how can your kidneys be working 100% when there's no water, right? So think about this. This is why I never want to get this twisted. I created the Equilibrium Nutrition supplement line because I had to. There were not great products when I was in clinical practice for certain things that I wanted to do. Meaning I could literally name hundreds of great products, by other companies. And I name those companies all the time because I am always unbiased in what I do. Thorne, Pure Encapsulations, Integrative Therapeutics, like Douglas. Like there's great companies out there, and I talk about them all the time. So when I started developing these products about 5 years ago, there was not a good functional medicine detox for under $300. I wanted the world to be able to do that. I said, how do I cut out all the middlemen, use the cleanest products, and use the dosages that I know work? I made it for $99. That you won't find a better product for $99. I can tell you that for sure. And because it's so expensive to make that with good quality, clean products. But why did I make that? Because people, I should do a whole podcast on this, but I studied all of the great natural hygienists who are the original naturopaths. That's who I most associate with. Why? Because they used the de-stress protocol. They didn't call it that, but they used the diet, the exercise or movement. They used stress reduction. They used toxin removal. They did all of these things. But here's the big thing. 100 to 150 years ago when they were around, there was almost none of these toxic man-made synthetic chemicals that we have today. Now we have over 77,000. So if you do a dry fast or a water fast today, all of those toxins that are stored in your fat cells that are being broken down are all coming in your bloodstream. That's why you need the nutritional support of something like the Equilibrium Functional Medicine Detox or insert your favorite brand. So here's the thing. What do? Well, they ramp up phase 1 and phase 2 detox. And this coming week, you're actually going to see I'm providing people with a free 2.5-hour detox course. It's free during the debut. And so check that out. That will be coming soon because I want people to know how important this is. So now back in the day, 100 years ago, they could do a water fast. Why? Because there wasn't the massive amount of toxins there are now. So our detox is actually a little over 2 days of just the shake fasting. So it's just enough to get the nutrients in your body so you don't have all these massive Herxheimer-based reactions. So D, hopefully that answers your question. And then again, that's what I recommend. I recommend people do a 21-day. If they've never done a functional medicine detox before, it will be life-changing. If you've already done one, you can do a 7 or 14-day. Okay, so what's the longest water fast that I've done? 7 days. No food, no anything. This is 10 years ago, not quite 10 years ago, 9 years ago, and just water for 7 days. I don't recommend it to people. I would not do that again unless it was for medical reasons, and I lost a tremendous amount of muscle. I did not feel well, but there's no doubt that it was helpful. Like there's no doubt. But I did not have my functional medicine detox back then. That started 2 years after that, right? So would I do that again? No, I wouldn't. I would keep doing what I do now. 21 days, your first detox. Every season, every 12 weeks, I do my 7-day detox. That's what I live by. And then each week, typically 3 out of the 4 weeks out of a month, from Sunday night to Monday night, I do a 24-hour water fast, or I do the 1-day diet that you can check out the podcast on that. All right, that was a long answer on that. I know that I try to stick to 3 or 4 minutes per question, but I wanted to answer that. So now I can refer back to that, and there you go. If you ever do a longer water fast, please do it under medical supervision. All right, Erin's up next. I have read that you should take NAC away from meals because the cysteine competes with other proteins for uptake and thus not as well absorbed when taken with food. However, taking NAC with food causes acid reflux for me. Taking NAC without food. I typically do not get acid reflux otherwise. Is there anything specific about NAC that would cause acid reflux? Is it true that NAC should be taken away from foods for best effect? All right, Erin, great question. Thank you for writing that in. You'll get a little bit more effect for sure taking NAC away from food, just like you'll get a better effect taking tyrosine away from food. However, tyrosine could make you a little jittery taken away from food. NAC could cause a little nausea. Zinc could cause nausea away from food. So what's my recommendation? Take it with food, right? Because you're still going to get the benefits. So, like that's a thing too, like with creatine. Creatine is best absorbed away from food. What if you take it with your shake? You're still going to get the benefits of creatine. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we're talking about fractions, right? So we're talking about, I can't give you a percentage because everyone's gut and digestion is different. Maybe you get 70%, 80%. That's still pretty fantastic, right? So, but let's look at it another way. It's hard to take it away from food unless you were to take it 30 minutes before a meal or upon waking, because that food's in your system for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, not your stomach, but it's moving through your stomach for a couple hours, that meal. Then it's moving through your intestines, at least the first part, the duodenum, as some people like to say, for a little while as well. Like that first, that's only 10, 12 inches, but the first part of the small intestine. And it's competing, like there's absorption taking place. So to say that cysteine, N-acetylcysteine would work in isolation would be kind of false anyways, unless it was upon waking or maybe 30 minutes before your next meal. So, Aaron, no problem taking it with food at all. We do it all the time with food. Okay, Laura's up next. Hi, I have Hashimoto's, chronic Epstein-Barr virus, anemia, allergies, dairy, egg, and gluten imbalances or intolerances. I've been getting acupuncture lately, and they keep saying I have a liver deficiency. I want to know, do your liver cleanse. I want to do your liver cleanse. Is that the same thing as the 7-day detox? I also listen and love the podcast. Thanks, Laura. Okay, well, thank you for listening to the podcast. We appreciate you. So the liver cleanse is different than the detox. So a cleanse, I would love you to listen to my podcast on the difference between a juicing, a cleanse, and a detox, okay? So I don't know the number of that, but whenever you want to know the number of a podcast, go to cabralsupportgroup.com. That's what we're there for. I have on my team health coaches that just answer our community's questions all day long, right? So like I literally pay them to answer your questions, and that's a service that I want to provide to people. And so I was very fortunate to be able to do that a couple years ago. And so please ask them, like for sure. I would get it for you myself, but I will now spend the podcast trying to find that episode out of 1,380 podcasts. So here's the thing though. I'll just give you a quick rundown. A cleanse removes things basically from the bowels. It empties the liver of what it has. A detox is actually helping you to remove that at a whole body level. So like an intestinal cleanse cleanses the intestines. A liver cleanse cleanses the liver. Kidney cleanse cleanses the kidneys, right? So a detox, though, takes all those 40 trillion cells in your body, and what it's doing is basically wringing them out at a cellular level, or it's wringing out adipose tissue. It's helping you to remove a lot more of the stored toxins over the entire body. So they're both great, but very different. The liver cleanse, I haven't done one in a couple years. I haven't felt the need for one. It's not a bad thing to ever do, but I've done at least a half dozen before in my life. So check that out. I give you a little cheat sheet on how to do the liver cleanse. It's a one-page cheat sheet. Makes it pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And the detox is what our community does every January, beginning of April, beginning of July, and September. Okay, that question was from Laura. Joanna's up next. Hi, Dr. Rawl. I wake up nearly every night at 4 a.m. with sneezing and runny nose and sinuses. Not sure why this is. I don't go to sleep with a runny nose. I do have high histamines, but haven't had any high histamine foods recently. I did the organic acids test, and it showed high oxalates and salicylates. Not sure what's contributing to this. Any thoughts? My oat also did not show any mold markers, but I have had mold where I live. Many thanks. Okay. So, yeah, I'm happy to help with this question. And, my initial inclination, I haven't seen your organic acids test, now called the Candida metabolism and vitamins test, because it does, obviously a lot. What can I say? There's a good possibility that you might have a dust allergy, and the bed is probably one of the largest, if not the largest place where you're going to have dust in your home. And that's because a lot of that dust is from sloughed off dead skin. And you, believe it or not, shed quite a lot of skin-based cells overnight. So the best thing you can do is wash your sheets at least once a week. Once a week is probably realistic for most people, in hot water. And what I would do is put dust mite covers over your mattress and put dust mite covers over your pillowcase. This is going to be tremendously helpful for a lot of people. Make sure there's no rugs in the bedroom. Make sure that there's not a lot of books and other things in the bedroom. Make sure your bedroom's quite clean. So if you have a dust-based allergy, this will help tremendously. Then you want to make sure that if you're in the winter and it's super dry in your home, that you get some type of clean-based humidifier, or you have a way that can bring more moisture into the air, because that could cause you to overproduce mucus in your sinuses and nose during the drying-based weather. What else could it be? It could be food sensitivities at dinner, foods that you eat at dinner that are causing you a latent-based reaction overnight. That's a possibility. Those are the places that I would start. Again, the organic acids test, it shows a good amount of markers for mold. There's no doubt about it. But the mold test is the best for mold, of course. So that's the place to get started. That's where I would recommend, and let's see if that works. Remember, always test out variables, right? Well, you'll know in 2 weeks if you just wash those sheets in hot water, get dust mite covers for all of your pillows, get rid of the rugs in the bedroom, really make the bedroom pretty sparse in terms of stuff that you have in there, so you keep it clean, dust-free, and see if that works. Now, if you need a humidifier, okay, you'll get one. You'll make sure that you're always cleaning it so that you're not pumping mold into your bedroom as well. And those are a good place to get started. Then also, Test variables, do a super plain dinner one night, maybe even just a smoothie one night, just as a test that that you're not sensitive to it. And then you go to bed like, oh no, I didn't have season that night. Okay, well, if you changed all of them at once, you wouldn't know what it was. But if you did the sheets for a week, and then you did the humidifier for a week if you needed it, and then you changed dinners, you'll be able to figure this out. This is how we literally work in our practice. We know that most things can be fixed with about 6 to 12 different variables maximum. So we attack the first, let's say, 3 or 4 right away that are the most common causal, and then what we do is we work after that to the next steps. Again, we'll always be able to figure it out. It just sometimes takes a little time, and that's where people's frustration lies, right? It's like, well, if I just took this drug, it would be gone today or tomorrow, right? Like, that's the truth, right? If you're getting headaches every day and you just take Advil, the headache goes away. I'm not going to deny that. But why are you getting headaches every afternoon, right? So it's like, it's one of those things we try to help people with. Listen, I don't want you to suffer from headaches either, but I also don't want you taking Advil for the rest of your life that could cause you ulcers, kidney issues, heart-based issues, destroy the gut microbiome. So it's like, we understand, we sympathize, we want to help with the headaches, but we also want to figure out what's going on that's causing this each and every day. And for you, every night, 4 a.m., what's going on. So we'll be able to figure this out. Joanna, keep working the process. You'll be able to figure it out. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into today's Cabral House Call. I appreciate you, and I'll be able to answer another 5 to 10 questions of yours tomorrow. So stay tuned. Today was episode 1380. Hopefully you're following along with the questions. Tomorrow will be episode 1381. Stay well, be well. I'll talk with you tomorrow. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stephencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.